rugged north, to the beautiful south, to the centre, east, west, doesn't matter where. For four-wheel drive tips and tricks and travel and information, you've come to the right place. Come for a ride with us, Mudduck's four-wheel drive tour. G'day everybody, Steve from Mudduck's 4-Wheel Drive Touring. Hope everybody's well. Today I want to talk about dual battery systems, but not just any dual battery systems, specifically lithium dual battery systems, and in particular the one I've got fitted to the 200 series. Now, it's not the cheapest dual battery option by any means, but it's what we fitted. I'll link the video to when I put it in up here. But I just want to talk about it because I've had it installed in the car for 18 months. So I wanted to go through what I think of it and is it worthwhile. Okay, well, what I've found so far in the world of dual batteries is I've done the usual dual battery systems like most people have, where I've had a start battery and an AGM battery under the bonnet. I've used those with success, but I found I was running out of power to run the fridge and other accessories after a couple of days, even with solar. So when it came time to replace my batteries 18 odd months ago, it was, do I do both of them again? Do I do a start battery and another AGM accessory, or do I pull the trigger on this new lithium technology? So I looked online and I found a mob called DCS, Deep Cycle Systems. I think they're in Queensland, and they were offering a specific package that suits the under bonnet of a 200. Now, first of all, we all heard about what we under bonnet, how don't do it. Don't put them under the bonnet, they can't handle the heat. Well, this company tells you straight up that they will handle the heat. They warrant them for 3 years under the bonnet, and the guy assures me that he'd be amazed if they failed in that time, but he had to put a warranty figure on it, so that's what he put on it. So what makes them great? Well, we all heard from other channels and things, I won't get into all the details, but lithium, a lighter. So I replaced 2 lead acid batteries under the bonnet. The start battery weighed 25 kilos, the AGM accessory battery weighed about 30. So that's 50 odd kilos of weight under the bonnet that I've taken out. Now obviously lithiums don't weigh nothing. I think the 2 I've got in there, if I'm wrong in the figures, I'll put them down below. But the 2 I've got in there weigh around about somewhere between 11 and 13 kilos each. So call them 13. We'll go to the heavy side, 26 kilos for 2 batteries. I've removed about 55 kilos from in there, so 25, 26 to 55. Let's call them 25. Call the other battery system 55. We say 30 kilos. Well, that's substantial. Land Cruiser 200s in particular are fat and heavy. So any weight saving is a good one. So that's number one. Number two, these batteries have a built-in battery management system and a Bluetooth app on your phone so you can keep tabs on them. I'll show you more about that in due course. But the good part about that is they're designed to take power from your alternator. So you don't need DC-DC chargers. They will run straight off your alternator. So 200s in this variant come wired up factory parallel batteries. I had them separated to make a dual battery system. I've wired them back in parallel now. So both batteries are working together. Now I know to a lot of you, you'll be going, oh, well, how do you protect the start circuit when you've got fridges and stuff running? Well, I'm glad you asked. What comes in this system is a Victron load disconnect. And it's designed, once you've preset it, to shut off your loads when your batteries get down to about 20%. So 20% of those batteries, being 200 amp hours all up, what are we looking at? 20 amp hours for the still of battery power? So you can draw down 180 amps of power and still have dozens of starts in your car. You're unlikely to do that, but in the unlikely event that that happens, you've still got lots of starts in your car. So that's a bonus. Next bonus is, as we're aware, lithiums will discharge a lot further down than an AGM. AGMs typically give you about 50% of their power capabilities, and that's about it. So a 100 amp hour battery is more like a 50 amp hour battery. Like a two 100 amp hour lithiums, and they'll discharge, they say they'll discharge 100%. I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to discharge them 100%. At 80%, what are we looking at there? 180 amps, 160 amps, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, call it 160. We'll go to the low end of my guesstimations. 160 amp hours of usable power. So that's 3 batteries worth of power that you've now got running your gear, compared to your old 2 batteries if you look at it on the AGM scale. Now I think it's closer to up to nearly 4 batteries, because I reckon you'll get 90 amps out of each to call 180. I don't think that's unrealistic. But anyway, you've got 3 times the amount of power to run your gear, in my opinion, and still have safe starting of your car. So you got, if you got 3 days out of your AGM battery running a fridge, theoretically 9 days on your lithiums, just without putting any extra charging. Unlikely that you would do that, but that could happen. So now, next thing about the lithium is they take charge from your car faster than an AGM. An AGM, they get about upset when you put more than about 30, 40 amps into them. Lithiums will sit there and suck 100 amps if you want. They'll take everything out and in that they're rated to. So you can charge them at a fair sort of clip. That's another good thing. So is there a downside? Of course there's a downside. Lithiums cost money. This whole setup in here is about $2,600 worth, maybe a little bit more. The lithiums themselves are worth about $1,300. You got the load disconnect, and in my case I also bought the MPPT solar controller from Victron, but that's a separate entity, and that's a topic for another video. So I can plug my solar panels in to the solar controller and charge the batteries up. So basically, I'll take you for a walk around and show you in the engine bay and so on shortly. But basically, you've got, in my opinion, between 3 and 4 batteries worth of power under the bonnet compared to the original 2 batteries. There were really only 1. So, yeah, it seems a no-brainer to me. They cost you a fortune. We can't escape that. But with that cost comes battery management systems and the promise of a longer lifespan. A typical lead acid will discharge for maybe a couple of hundred cycles. The 10 of the lithiums will charge a discharge for 2,000 plus cycles. So 5 times, 10 times the length, the amount of cycles you can get out of it. So if you're getting 2 years out of an AGM, you should expect 10 years out of lithium. That's what I'm hoping for in these. So we'll see how they go. They're 18 months old and they are running absolutely beautifully. So I personally believe that it's money well spent. But at this stage, it's only 18 months in, but they have handled everything we've done to them. Anyway, I'll end this me rabbiting on here part now, and I'll take you for a look under the bonnet and show you what's there, and I'll run B-roll and all that kind of stuff, and I'll give you a few reasons as to why I think these are worthwhile. All right, the bonnet's up, so I'll give you a look at what we've got done so far. As I said, these batteries are wired in parallel, so they are coupled together 100%. And are they looking a bit rough? Yes, they've survived some pretty interesting drives, and I haven't cleaned the engine bay for a little while, as you can probably tell, guys. So what was involved in fitting these? Into a 200, I had to modify these brackets slightly because these batteries are slightly taller than the original N70Zs. And the top of that battery is a little bit narrower, but that's okay because that part just fits along that side, that lip. That one sits on top and it all bolts down nice and they're secure and they're solid. And they just do a good job. I've got a circuit breaker in line here. That's just running power up to the back for other jobs, so that's pretty well all that does. Now, I know I've got still a heap of wire running off these, but the two of those batteries power high current devices, such as the mighty Warn winch. So they did a good job of that in the high country. Sorry about me pulling the spider webs off this car. I did a 4-wheel drive track to get here that I wasn't expecting, and I just got crap on it everywhere, so apologies. So they run the winch no trouble, and I winched it out of some pretty average areas while I was in the high country. And I'm probably not much different power consumption to other people. You think I would be, but I'm really not. I've got some radio gear, UHFs, I've got amateur radios. But the radios don't pull a large amount of power particularly, so the batteries handle those okay. And in the back, because I do YouTube clips and run camera gear and stuff, at the moment I've got a little charging bay, 2 sets of GoPro batteries, I've got USB points and other things. I'm going to change this soon to make it better, but they run that. And then of course in the back, which I'll show you in a second, is the rest of the gear that we run. Now by the way, I don't want you to laugh when you see this. Well, you can laugh. Yeah, actually go ahead, laugh. Right, obviously this is not my full-time travel fridge. And yeah, I can't do this one-handed. There we go. Sorry about that. But that's the fridge I got with me today, because it's just a little day trip. It's a little King's console fridge basically. But I usually run a Waco CFX 50 in there, and it'll draw, it's 5 or 6 amps an hour, no trouble. Up above there I've got my Travel Buddy oven, and it pulls about 10 amps when it's running. So when you consider that I'm running those things, I'm using a little bit of power. But how much am I using? Right, how much am I using? Well, that's a bit debatable, But let's have a think about it. You've got the Travel Buddy, 10 amps, a fridge, doesn't matter which sort, 5 or 6 amps, so 16 amps an hour. You've got assorted, oh, you're looking at the sky, guys, sorry. You've got assorted battery chargers, couple of amps, so 18, 20 amps. It's a radio gear. Now in transmit, some of my gear will draw 10 amps. So I could load up my batteries quite easily to about 30 amps an hour. But I've got an alternator putting out 180 to 200 amps. It's charging the batteries quite happily at that kind of power. So if I'm pulling 30 amps an hour out of it while I'm driving, and that's only when I'm driving that's using that kind of power. When I'm not driving, I'm not playing on the radios, I turn them off. Radios on receive, maybe an amp between them, so down to about 15 amps tops. If I'm not driving, I rarely use the Travel Buddy. I use it while I'm driving. I switch it off when I get to where I'm going, because that's the idea. I was cooking while I was driving. So that's 10 amps I don't use. But if I wanted to use the Travel Buddy when I'm parked, and it takes me 2 hours to cook something, I'm drawing 10 amps an hour, 20 amps. I've got 200 amps capacity, 180 amps capacity. So I've drawn a tenth of it. It's not going to bother it. The fridge overnight is going to draw 6 amps an hour, so got 8 or 10 hours of doing that. So I'm guessing, and 6 amps is probably more than it really uses. So up to 60 amps. So I've used 80 amps overnight on a big night. And honestly, I've never seen that kind of current being pulled out of it overnight. But say I use 60 to 80 amps out of it, at 200 amps of battery power, I've still got 120 amps left in it. The alternator on this car, as I said, charges at up to 180 amps, maybe 200. Those batteries, if it starts jumping 100 amps into those batteries, are charged in an hour. Not even an hour. And you're back to normal. Now, none of this takes into account the fact I've got solar capabilities and I can recharge it. This is just if I pull up and use it overnight. On a recent trip, in fact, that's what I did. I didn't pull the solar out. I drove pretty well big chunks of a day, pulled up at camp at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, broke camp again at 9 in the morning, or thereabouts, and I still had 160 amp hours. I still had 60-70% of my battery power. I honestly don't think you can ask for much more than that. So that is my views at this point. So I'll let you look in here again, because why not? So they're dearer, sure. They're not as pretty once weather gets to them and stuff, and you can see the labels peeling off a little bit there. But, but it's a battery. Yeah, how pretty does it have to be? Labels peel off this one too. So the heat's affecting the glue more than it's affecting the battery. At some stage during my conversation with you, you should have probably seen a bit of B-roll by now of the battery management system on the app. It probably won't be 100%. I've rarely seen it 100%, to be honest. They say, that it should get to 100% pretty quickly. I've not really experienced that. But that's just me. Anyway, I'll put you down for a second and I'll wrap this up. So in closing, oh hang on. Yes, I've moved spots. It's a bit bloody warm in that part of the sun. So why sit out there in the sun as much? Have you seen these guys? From Ed's 4-wheel drive. There you go, 2 cameras worth. It's four-wheel driving camping, another little YouTube channel. If you haven't watched him, watch him. He's good. Cheers. Alright, you don't want to sit here watching me drink cans of drink. Alright, my final conclusion, guys. My personal opinion of lithium, and I know this gets used way too much in the context of four-wheel drives, is they really, really are game changers. I know that's said a lot. I know it is. But they are. The difference they've made to people's ability to camp off grid is unbelievable. Yes, there's downsides. They cost. They certainly do cost. No escaping that. Now, there's possibly cheaper batteries than mine. As I said, I think mine are about $1,300 when I bought them each. There are other brands probably equally as good. I don't know. I won't speak for other brands. But I would be prepared to say there's bound to be other brands that are right up there with them. They may be less money. But at the time, this was the system I wanted. That's what I bought. So they cost you money. But do they? If those batteries last you 5 times as long as your current start and AGM secondary auxiliary batteries do, are they dearer? $1,300 each, $2,600 on batteries all up. Look at your start and your AGMs. Typically, now I know there's deals, you can get them all cheaper, you always can. But I would suggest you're paying $200 for a start battery and $300 for an auxiliary battery. That could be dearer, it could be cheaper. But that's a pretty fair average, I think, $500. I, personally, in my setup, don't get more than 2 years out of them. A lot of people get more, and if you do, good luck. It might make the maths different to you. So I'm spending $500 every second year to replace both batteries in my car. So, yeah, $500 every 2 years, and 4 years I've spent $1,000. In 6 years, $1,500. So 8 years, obviously I've spent $2,000. 10 years, $2,500. I've spent $2,300 on these batteries. So if they last the 10 years, and only time will tell, they wind up being cheaper. Maybe not by much, but they're still cheaper. They're certainly not dearer when you look at it in the long run. Yes, you've got to get the 10 years out of them, sure. But think of this. For that time, you've had the other advantages of having way more usable power, longer lasting usable power, a lot less weight in the whole installation, and you didn't have to every second year go through the process of pulling batteries out and putting new ones in. These ones are just there, doing their thing. So one would hope they didn't fail you in the middle of nowhere. And the cool part is, in this situation here in parallel, if one was to have a heart attack for some reason, disconnected from another one, they're both running in parallel, just tape it up. The one battery will still run the truck. You still run your fridge. You don't have to sit there and think about how to rewire it. That's all still going. So that's got to be a bonus. Anyway, guys, that is my personal opinion of a DCS lithium battery system under my bonnet. I'm not sponsored by DCS in any way. I paid full price for them. So I thought I'd better tell you that up front. I bought them. If I didn't like them, I could tell you I don't like them. But at this stage, 18 months on, by the time you see this, guys, I'll have had them getting close to 2 years. But 18 months on at the moment, and they are crackers, mate. They are going really, really well. Okay, I know this is a little bit boring in some aspects, talking about batteries and looking at my ugly mug. I mean, that's understandable. I wouldn't want to look at it for this long either. As I said, hopefully I've dropped in lots of B-roll over top of me talking, so you don't have to look at this the whole time, okay? Or me big gut. Anyway, guys, if you like this content, if you found this useful, put a like on it. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, click the notification bell. You'll know when a new clip comes up. I do try to put up clips weekly. I do this for a hobby. I do have a job. So I have to try and fit this in after hours. I'm not sure if everybody who watches knows that, but this is a hobby, guys. So I don't make much money out of YouTube at all. So I do this for fun, and I hope you guys get something out of it. And to old hands, of course, thanks for being there and watching for all these years and always being the first guys to comment and just keep me going. You guys are dead set legends. Please do comment on my videos, guys, if you like stuff, or if you want to see something else. If I can fit it in, I'll try. If you've got a lithium battery system yourself and you think I'm wrong, or I've quoted some things badly, and I'm just a guy, I didn't do any research. I'll honestly tell you now, I did not research anything for this clip. I just wanted to tell you how they've worked for me in the 18 months I've had them. But if you can tell me other details that I might have missed, or anything that helps anybody else watching this to read in the comments, please do. I invite you to. Anyway, guys, as I said, thanks for watching, taking the time out of your days to sit here and listen to me dribble on with crap. And I hope that I'll see you somewhere on the tracks. Just get out there, enjoy the bush. So cheers from me and Kaz from Mudduck's 4-wheel drive touring, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Ed, this stubby cooler is a cracker, mate. Thanks very much.